In Math Lesson 3-6, we're working on fraction estimation with number sense. You will need your whiteboard marker, your math journal, and a pencil. Let's go ahead and start with a warm-up. Go ahead and number 1 and 2 and rewrite these equations. And you are going to add grouping symbols, parentheses, to make the equation equal to 10 for number 1 and 140 for number 2. I will give you a little clue. The first one, you'll need 2 sets of parentheses. And the second one, you will only need 1 set of parentheses. So which numbers would I put in parentheses so that equation 1 equals 10 and equation 2 equals 140? Pause your video and solve. Make sure you pause your video and do what I ask. So if I put 3 and 2 in parentheses, that equals 5. What would I need to multiply 5 by to get 2? 2. So if I solve 4 minus 2 is 2, then multiply 5 times 2, I get 10. And in number 2, I only need 1 set of parentheses. If I add 2 plus 8, which is 10, then I start left to right. 7 times 10 is 70, and 70 times 2 is 140. Again, we'll just stick with our whiteboards. This is not in your math journal yet. The message says, Christopher solved 2/3 plus 1/2 and got 3/5. Sam said, I think your answer is wrong and I can prove it without calculating. Show how Sam can prove that Christopher is wrong without calculating a solution or figuring out an answer. You may use your fraction circles to help you. I use my fraction circles on my Connect Ed e-toolkit. And so this is what I got. If I take 2/3, this is 2/3, and added 1/2 to it. So this is 2/3 here, plus 1/2. Does that seem like that would equal only 3/5? If I were to add that together, it would actually be more than 1 whole. So that does not make sense. So those fraction circle pieces in your e-toolkit will help. You also have them if you want to cut them out in the back of your math journal. So even without solving it, I can tell that 2/3 and 1/2 would equal more than 1 whole. So I know that answer is not correct. Let's take a look at another one. Again, not in your math journal yet. Jason has a bean plant that measures 7/8 inch tall. A beetle nibbled 1/16 inch off the top. Jason said, now my bean plant is only 6/8 inch tall. Does Jason's conclusion make sense, and how do you know? Let me go ahead and mark where 7/8 is. 7/8 is right here. And I know that 6/8 is 1/8 of a less than 7/8. So if a beetle only nibbled off 1/16, that would be less than 1/8, because 1/8 and 1/16 do not equal each other. This is less than 1/8. So I know that 6/8 is 1/8 less than 7/8. So if the beetle, only ate off 1/16, that's less than 1/8. So that does not make sense. Let's go ahead and move into our math journal. We're going to work on page 85. So remember, you are completing these math journal pages with me in your math journal. So if I were to come to your house and look at your math journal, I would see all of the lessons completed. Christopher solves some fraction problems. Do Christopher's answers make sense? Circle yes or no, and then, so you're going to circle one or the other, and then, so there's a second step, write an argument to show how you know. So 2/7 plus 1/2, does that equal 3/9? Here's where I'm going to start. If I add anything to a half, it's going to be more than a half. And then I look at 3/9. Well, half of 9 would be 4.5 or 4.5. And that's less than a half. So if I'm adding something to a half, I can't end up with less than a half. So the answer is no, it doesn't make sense. If you add 2/7 to 1/2, the answer would have to be more than or greater than 1/2. Since we're writing, if it takes you a little bit longer, go ahead and pause your video and then just catch up with us. Number 2, write greater than, less than, or equal to. 9/10 is greater than 7/8. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to look at 9/10 on my number line. 9/10 is right here. It is 1/10 away from 1 whole, the number 1. Now I look at 7/8. 7/8 is 1/8 from 1 whole. And I know that 1/10 is less than 1/8. So 9/10 has to be closer to 1 whole. If I ate 1/10 of the pizza, that would be less than 1/8. So that has to be closer. So, yes, the answer makes sense. So 9/10 is 1/10 away from 1 whole. 7/8 is 1/8 away from 1 whole. And 1/10 is less than 1/8. So I know it's closer to 1. Again, pause the video if you need more time to write. And number 4, 8/9 plus 1/3 equals 8/12. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So I compared the denominators. Denominators are the numbers down under. Remember D for down under. These are the denominators. Because eight twelfths and 8/9 have the same numerator, the same top number. 12ths are smaller pieces, right? Than 9ths. So 8/12 has to be less than 8/9. If something is cut into 12 pieces, they're going to be smaller pieces than they're cut into 9 pieces. So it doesn't make sense that the answer would be smaller when you added something to it. So slices of pie that are 9 slices compared to 12 are going to be larger. So you can't end up with a smaller answer when you're adding something to it. Continuing in our math journal, we're going to do a little bit more with interpreting remainders in number stories. We're on page 86. For each number story, write a number model with a letter for the unknown called the variable. Then solve. Show your work in the space provided. You can draw a picture to help. Decide what to do with the remainder and explain what you did. So a cook had 250 ounces of cheese for 80 individual pizzas. Each pizza gets the same amount of cheese. How much cheese should the cook put on each pizza? So let's take that 250 ounces, put it in the dividend, and divide by the 80 pizzas. Think about this for a minute. That 0 cancels out that 0, so about how many times does 8 go into 25? Well, 8 times 3 would be 24, so let's try 3 times. 8 times 3 would be 240 with that 0 popped on there. Now, I only have 10 ounces left and 80 individual pizzas. So I can only put 3 ounces and I have 10 ounces left. So my number model would look like this. 250 ounces divided by 80 pizzas. We're going to put a variable to stand for what we're trying to solve for. The quotient or the answer is 3. The remainder is 10 ounces. So what should the cook do? Well, the cook should put 3, and then I'm going to take the 10 ounces left over and divide it among the 80 pizzas. We don't want to just leave the extra pizza. We can put a little extra on each. So we're going to put 3. The remainder goes on the top of the fraction, and our divisor goes on the bottom. And that's another way to write the remainder. We reported it as a fraction. Why? We won't waste cheese. We can divide it up. So we can divide up that little bit of cheese into a fractional amount. Number 2, 35 people are attending a game night. Each table seats 4 people. How many tables are needed? Well, 35 people. We're going to divide them among 4 people at each table. Well, I know that 4 times 9 would be 36. So I'm going to have to do 8 times, which is 32. And there'll be 3 people still left without a table. So let's go ahead and write our number model. 35 divided by 4 people at a table gives me what I'm solving for. That variable is a lowercase letter of the alphabet. I solved. I will have 8 with 3 people remaining. But those 3 people want to play games. So in order to have everybody seated at a table, I'm going to round this up. I'm actually going to get another table so those 3 people can sit down. So circle what I did with my remainder. I rounded the quotient or the answer up. Another table is needed. For the 3 people left over.